Naila, why is English language important to learn?
This is because English language is an international language and is widely followed and understood by people across the world.
I want to learn this language.
To learn every language, there are some skills to develop. Follow this class to learn these skills.
We welcome you to our last set of lessons on this topic. After this, we'll be left with the last one to end the set of lessons on Introduction to Literature. We are going to discuss setting today. Class, we welcome you to the program.
Thank you, sir.
Good. So as mentioned, the topic is setting, but we have setting 1 and 2. So we shall tackle the first part, setting 1, and then we tackle the second one in our last lesson. Let's look at the objectives for the 2, start setting 1 and 2. By the end of the discussion, you can, 1, identify the place and time settings in a piece of literary work. So we have 2 types of setting. We have place setting and we have what? Time setting. So we'll be able to identify these 2. And then we should also be able to appreciate the contribution of setting to a given work of literature. And then the last one, we should be able to explain the meaning of what? Setting. What setting is. But before we go there, I have a question for you. We discussed theme the last time we met. And what do we say a theme is?
Theme is the moral lesson we learn from literary work.
Okay, fine. You've made a very nice attempt. That's good. We've already mentioned events or actions. And we say events or actions in literary work is known as what? Yes? Plot. So the various events, the various actions in piece of literary work is known as plot. Those who perform the actions, the narrators use them to perform the various actions, like speaking, like marriage, and those things, are what? In literary work. What do we term them? Yes, Munira?
The characters.
Speak up, please.
The characters.
The characters. Okay, yes? Moise, who are they? Or what do we call such things? Those who perform the actions.
They are the characters.
They are the characters, okay? And at the characters, we identify types or forms. You will mention one each. Yes? Let me start from you, Moise.
Flat.
Speak up.
Flat. Flat character.
We have a flat character, good. Flat or
Static.
static character. Yes?
Dynamic.
Speak up.
Dynamic character.
What is the other name for a dynamic character?
Round character.
Round character. Yes? What other form of character did we mention in our discussions? She mentioned flat or static. Munira mentioned round or dynamic. Yes? Apart from these 2 forms of characters, we mentioned other forms of characters too. What else did we mention? You haven't been part of this class at all. You are here, your physical body is here, but your mind is far away. Yes?
The protagonist and the antagonist.
Speak up.
The protagonist and the antagonist.
Okay, we also mentioned protagonist and we also mentioned what? The antagonist. Okay, good. But now the question I'm asking you now, which we just did last week, is theme. What is theme in literary work? When we say theme, she mentioned that they are the moral lessons. Yeah, but we said the moral lessons are the sub-themes. When you put the various moral lessons together, it gives you something, and that is a theme, actually the theme. And what do we say theme is? We say the theme is a main idea. Theme is a main idea in any work of literature. The main moral lesson that you pick and take home. If you meet someone for the first time, how can you tell his hometown? That's a question I'm asking.
How the person speak.
How this person speaks. Okay, fine. That's one way. Yes?
Language the person speaks.
Okay, the language the person speaks. Good. Yes?
How the person looks like.
How the person looks like. It can tell the person's hometown. Okay, fine. The other way is you may also ask, right? Good. Is it important to know the origin of someone when dealing with him or her? Is it important you know where I come from when you are dealing with me?
Yes.
Is it important?
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
Okay. For time's sake, I would have asked you why you think it's important. How do you relate to people you have same background with? Let's assume you are coming from a particular area and someone is also coming from that same area. How do you deal with the person? What's the relationship? How do you see you relating with the person? Is there any difference in your relationship with that person? If we speak one language, it's very easy for me to relate with you than we speak different languages. I may not even understand what your language, and that becomes what? A barrier. Good. So how do you relate with those you have different backgrounds with? I've just mentioned something like that. Let's assume you are from an Akan speaking background, and I'm from a Yoruba speaking background. And we don't have a common language that we both can communicate. It creates a challenge between what? Between us. We say characters in literary works live the life of what? Humans. So therefore, they come from a specific place. They speak a specific what? Language, just as I and you. We are not from the same background. I know where I come from. That is not where the rest of you are coming from. The same applies to the audience outside there. So they live in an imaginary world created for them for a particular what? Time. By who? By either the poet, the dramatist, or what? Narrator. We already learned that characters live in their own world, this imaginary world created for them. It's not a real world. It is imagined. Like we saw a mouse living in a world where he is the king. We will never be walking somewhere and meet the real mouse being a king. But this is a world created for what? For mouse. So every world has specific time and what? Place. Every world has a specific time and place. Ghana, some years ago, had a time it started. Today, Ghana, we are seeing, wasn't like this. The Togo we know of today was never like this. The Nigeria we know of today was never what? Like this. So humans are either in countries, in villages, or forests of what? Africa, America, the Europe, Asia, or what? Australia. These are continents we know. So when we pick Africa, for example, as a continent, we have human beings in the villages of Africa, in towns of Africa, as I mentioned, Togo, Nigeria, and the rest. And even in some forests in Africa. We pick the American, the South and North America, we will see human beings living in their towns, in their villages, and in their forests. The same thing applies to other continents we have there, the Europe and the Asia continent. So are what? Characters in what? In literary works. So characters may be living in villages in Africa. That is what the narrator wants, to put them there. A character may be living in a village in America. That is what the narrator wants. A character may be living in a village in Asia, in one of the Asian countries. And that is what the narrator wants the character to what? To live. Do you follow me? Yes. Okay. We say humans also discuss issues of the past ages, present or what? Future. As we are here, there are things we talk about that is in the past. Like I ask you questions relating to things we learned in the past. We are now discussing things that we are leading ourselves into the future. And we talk of things in the present time. You do that when you are with your colleagues, with your families. You all do that. So when poets, playwrights, and narrators create characters in literary works, they put them in these countries, villages, and forests of the various continents mentioned what above. I've already mentioned that. If I'm a storyteller, I decide where to put my characters. If I want them to be in Africa, I'll decide which village in Africa will I put them. Which forest in Africa will I put them? Do you understand? Okay. So the issues around the characters could be about past, present, or what? Future. It should be all, not of. So that is also one issue there. I can decide that what the characters are all doing is about things in their past. It's about things concerning their present what situation. The clip we watched the last lesson on the drought of Amanfrom, they were confronted with situations from the past, a drought for what? 5 years. And then they came to the present moment. They were trying to resolve it. And then they were able to finally resolve it what? In the future. As they kept singing, they were able to solve it in their present situation. So that each story, play, or poem has a place and what? And time it what? Occurs. I mentioned all this for us to know. When you are reading a story, if it is a poem you are reciting, if it's a drama you are part in acting, there's a particular time and there's a particular place all these things what take place. And you should be interested because there's a purpose for which those who wrote are trying to communicate to us. So this is so because every human does something in a specific place and within what? A specific time. Each of us here, we do something at a specific place. If it is sleep, you are sleeping at a specific place and you are sleeping within a specific what? Time. If it is eating, you are eating, it is within a specific place and it is within a specific time. So, for example, this class is taking place within a specific place and what? A specific period of what? Time. Today, we are saying it is taking place today. In some days to come, we will say it took place in the past. Do you follow? Okay. So, it's the same with characters in what? In literature. So, the stories you will read, you will listen to, the drama you have the opportunity to read or watch, always have it in mind that the various actions are taking place at a specific what? Place and within a specific what? Time. And you'll be asked questions about these important areas. So certain, so when we now say certain, we are talking about what? We say certain is therefore the place and time a story or what? A poem or a drama what? Occurs. So let me not ask you what a certain is and you'll find it problem after going all through this. Mention about time, mention about place. So when we say a certain in literary work, we are talking about what? The specific place and time, either a drama, a poem, or a story takes what? Place. And we are interested in the characters. We are interested in the characters. So at times, the actual setting is mentioned in a play or a poem or what? A prose. At times, the actual place is mentioned. We say there are also instances that the place and time is never what? Mentioned at all. You read and you never hear the name of the place mentioned at all. You will listen and you will never hear the place being mentioned at all. No mention of time at all in there. So whether the setting is mentioned or not, the creator, whether the setting is mentioned or not, the creator of the characters would always leave sufficient guide for the audience to get the settings for most of what? The event. So take note. whether the narrator, the playwright, the poet mentioned where and the time for the various event or not, there is always a guide for you and I to detect these things. So how do we identify? That's the question. Identifying certain in literary works. How do we now do that? We say that the following would always be used by what? Characters. So these are the things we use to identify. One, names of what? Characters. We use the names of characters to identify the setting. When we talk of setting, I'm talking of a time and what? Place. When we mention setting, we are talking about what? Time and place. Then the language of the characters, as you mentioned, when I ask, when you meet someone, how do you know where the person comes from? Some of you said the language of what the person speaks. So the language will tell us where the character is coming from. The food the characters eat will tell us where the time and the place is. The costume they wear. Then the occupation, the various activities they do will also tell us. The settlement, the kind of houses they live in will tell us. Then the various rites performed by the characters, the various things they perform. We have different rites. We have rites like marriage ceremony, naming ceremonies, and then funeral rite, puberty rite. All these type of rites will tell us where they are coming from. So these are unique to specific what? Localities. All these things are unique to specific localities. This is where we will bring our lesson to an end. And don't forget the various things we mentioned. We said to determine our setting, we need to know the name of the characters, the language, the food, the costume, the occupation, the settlement of the characters. When we say settlement, where they stay. We shall pick each one of them and see how they help us in identifying our setting in literary works. This is where time will permit us to be with you. If you have any question, ask. Remember, when we are to start our next lesson, these are questions I will ask you. So if you have any question, ask, please. Yes, Mundira, I can see you have a question on mind.
So please, so the name, language, food, costume, they are how you identify. Are they how you identify a settle?
Yes, setting. You want to know the place and the time a particular work of literature occurs. A question is asked. You have listened or watched or read a particular piece of literature. When they say, where is the setting? How do you know? You can use the names of the characters to know. You can use the food the characters eat to know. You can use the language. As I asked you, I had asked a question. If you meet someone for the first time, how would you know where the person is coming from? And what did you say? You said something. What did you say?
How the person speaks.
So by the way the person speaks, so it means you have a sign of identifying people from where they come by the way what they speak. You said something.
Said the way they look.
The way they look. So you also have a particular sign you pay attention to. By the looks of the person, you'll be able to tell this is where the person is coming from. And you said what?
The language you speak.
So you see the language is here. And even the look is also the costume. The way I would dress will show how I look. So the costume is also there. So these things identify us by where we come from and the particular period of time we live in. For example, this attire we are all wearing is for this moment. In the olden days, let's say about 10, 20 years ago, people were not dressing like this. They dressed differently. Let's say in 100 years back, what kind of dressing were they dressing? What was their dress code 100 years back? Yes?
Tying cloth around them.
I can't hear you.
Tying cloths around them.
People used to tie cloths around them. They didn't have sewn attire like we have today. They didn't have cross sandals like I and you are wearing today. Do you have a question? Are you answered? Yes. Good. But we shall pick each one and discuss in detail. But it's good you have these ideas. Yes?
Please say, if, for example, the Ashantis, they like names like Kofi and those things. So if you are in, let's say, you are from Wa, then they give you a name like Kofi. And someone says you like your name is an Ashanti name, but you are in Wala.
So it means you are given a name that you do not come from that area. So it means Kofi is generally known to be for the Akan speaking people from the Akan speaking area. And you are from the Wali speaking area. You are named Kofi. So you have misled people.
So is this certain?
Yes, your name is Kofi. So we'll use your name to say that you are from the Akan speaking area. And when you trace, it may be true that you are from Akan speaking area, just as you think you are from Wali speaking area. There may be reasons why someone may be coming from a particular area, but given a name belonging to a different area. There are reasons, right? But when immediately that is done, you have identified yourself with a particular group of people. Okay. Our viewers, this is where time will permit us to be with you. Our discussion today has been setting 1, and we've tried to explain what setting is. We said setting mostly is about the time and place a piece of literary work occurs. There are things that can always give us a guide or clue to identifying our setting. We mentioned the names of the characters, the language the characters speak, the food the characters eat, the costume the characters wear, the settlement, the occupation the characters are engaged in. These are the various areas that guide us, students of literature, to be able to identify the setting for a particular piece of literary work. In our next lesson, which will be the last lesson for this set of series, we will take each one of them and discuss them in details. Until then, we say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.